new. I'm here for it. So we're trying something new today, y'all. I'm going live from my phone on landscape mode. Let me know if you can hear me well. Let me know if you can see me well. This is a totally new way of doing the live. I wanted to simplify things this week. Last week I talked a little bit about just, getting more on top of the quality of these readings and things like that. So I'm trying something new and I want to know what y'all think. So let me know how things look. Let me know how things feel, given that I'm joining you from my phone. Can y'all see me? Am I cutting my head off? Is it cool, like the landscape mode? Can you see it? Or is it look weird? Do I look like tilted or anything? Let me know. But yeah, this is super cool. I'm just like trying it out. Okay, anyway, so brand new weekly reading today. Welcome everybody. Rissa Vibes here, aka Readings by Rissa. So excited to connect with you as always. Today is a brand new weekly reading and we are covering a lot of energy today. We have a lot to talk about. We have a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio tonight. And it is a powerful one. So we are going to dive into that a little bit. I'm also going to be potentially doing a live moon talk on IG later, depending on how I feel, because listen, if we cover everything with a moon today in this reading, I might just send everybody from IG over here to view it because, your girl don't like to repeat herself too much. I don't think anybody likes to repeat themselves too much. Can I get like an ashe or an amen on that? Because I know for me, I'm not super fond of repeating myself, but I will do it if necessary because, we got to be spreading this light. We got to be spreading this knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm still cutting my head off, so I'm going to like push this back a little bit and move this over. Look at me getting the camera angles right for y'all, okay? Okay, that's better. You can see my cute little ponytail now. All right, everybody. So let me go ahead and let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know how you're feeling today. Happy Scorpio full moon and lunar eclipse. We've got a lot to talk about. Like I said, we are covering today the entire week. So May 15th all the way till May 22nd, 2022. We are also starting a portal as we talked about yesterday. This portal of change and transformation. And communication with our intuition. We've got a lot to talk about here. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be flipping back to the notes from last week as well, just to talk a little bit about what we mentioned then, because it's all so connected, so connected. So good to see you, Leslie. Hi. So excited to see you. Who else is here? Let's see. I gotta like get close and like, oh, let me not touch too many buttons. Bohemian Princess is here and Leslie is here. Good to see y'all. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I have named this reading Facing Your Shadows. Yeah, facing the shadows, facing your shadows. I don't even remember now, but facing shadows, okay? We're gonna be doing a lot of shadow work this week if you haven't already started it. I know I have. I talked a little bit about it last week. If you haven't started to feel your shadow work surfacing, then get ready because it's about to. So we're going to talk about that. So this is first. Let me just go over a review of last week. Let me get down to our normal format here. I think because I'm switching it up with the phone stuff, with the phone live. Now I'm like messing with the format. So let's get back into the groove. Let's do a little review of last week's cards before we even get into the spirit messages of this week, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So last week we pulled the shadow work card at the beginning of the week, really letting us know that this was right ahead of it. We're going to be jumping into some shadow work soon, right? Get ready, get going, get feeling that shadow work energy showing up, right? Then in the middle of the week, we pulled the messenger card, letting us know that we are communicating more with our intuition and that a lot of conversations we're going to be having with people are also communications from our intuition and really needing to discern the difference, okay? And then at the end of the week, we pulled the Dragon Awakening card, letting us know that the world doesn't want us to wake up, but we are waking up anyway, and to claim our power in that awakening, to honor it, and really step into more of the embodiment of our evolution, okay? So those are the cards last week. Now this week, like I said, is all about facing shadows. So we're going to continue that shadow work card from last week into this week. But before we get into the shadow work stuff, I want to talk about your intuition. That's the first spirit message of this week. Your intuition does not always make sense, especially not right away. And so a lot of times people have a hard time discerning between their intuition and their ego, or maybe just something they made up in their head, right? And at first it can feel that way. It can feel a little too airy. It can feel a little bit unreliable. It can feel like it doesn't make sense. But give it some time. If you let yourself observe the intuition without acting on it for a little bit longer, you will start to notice that it will start to give you more detail. It will start to show more of itself to you. That intuitive voice will get louder. And so if you ever feel like your intuition doesn't make sense, or it doesn't feel reliable, or it's just feeling kind of hard to trust, watch that energy. Observe that energy that you're intuiting. Give it some time to develop a little bit more. It may not be ready to be read yet. The energy may not be ready to be processed yet. And that's why it still doesn't make sense, or it's still feeling like hard to really trust, okay? So honor the time it takes for intuition to ground in and become more concrete. And obviously intuition is not concrete. It's very abstract. It's very airy. It's very unseen. And that's also why it can be hard to trust it. So remember that as well. Remember that it does take a little bit of this observation of the unseen and this acknowledgement that it's going to feel a little bit like imagination. It's going to feel a little bit confusing and hard to identify at first because it's so abstract. But as you let yourself lean into it, observe it, and let that intuition develop into louder messages, then you'll start to feel like, okay, this is definitely intuition and not just something I'm making up. This is something showing itself to me, right? Through signs, synchronicities, other conversations, validations of what you were feeling intuitively, starting to become more concrete in your experience. Does that make sense? So even though intuition doesn't always make sense right away, it will eventually if you let yourself continue to observe it without acting on it too soon, letting that energy build into something more solid, and recognizing that sometimes it even takes a little imagination and a little bit of acceptance of the unseen in order for that to happen as well. Okay, so let's pull a card on that. Also, everybody, keep in mind, if you see me moving strange, I am having like some significant muscle spasms in my upper back. I have been doing my pole exercises and pole work and stuff because I have a really fun stripper pole in my house, and I'm always dancing on it. And I'm going to be putting out some content. Don't worry. I know some of you are like, ooh, I want to see. I will be putting out some content, but I did something last night when I was playing around on it, and I definitely messed up my back. For sure. For surely. But it's okay, because I did some energy work on it. I let the hot shower relax it a little bit, and it definitely feels better. Got a little massage, but it's definitely still in pain. So if you see me moving funny, that's what that is, okay? All right, so in regards to our intuition not making sense all the time, the regenerator energy comes up. So this is saying sometimes it's also important to regenerate energy around your intuitive voice, okay? So this can also be when we're not doing our spiritual practices fully, when we're not meditating regularly, when we're not doing what we need to do to regenerate or recharge our intuitive energy. So ask yourself as well, if an intuition doesn't make sense, give it some time to develop, right? But also part of giving it time to develop, you can kind of accelerate that process by doing more of your spiritual practices, because by doing more of your spiritual practices, you're deliberately developing that intuitive voice more. You're creating more resonance with that energy so that it can be louder and it can speak more pronouncedly. So this is a really nice little cheat code Spirit gave us. You don't always just have to wait and observe for the energy to reveal itself. That is one way to do it. But you can also generate the energy around your intuition by meditating or doing some journaling or visualizing what it is that you're receiving intuitively. And as you do that, the information will come in even more potently because you're regenerating it, because you're putting energy into that battery of your intuitive power. Okay, pretty awesome with that. I love that card for this message. So ask yourself, how do you regenerate your intuition? Have you noticed any specific activities, environments, interactions that you know when you have them or you're exposed to them, your intuition just skyrockets, it just jumps to a new level of potency? Start to write those things down and start to do more of those things, because that's going to help you regenerate your intuitive voice, and it's going to help whatever intuitive messages that don't make sense or aren't feeling super grounded become more strong and stable for you to read. Okay, really cool message there. Little coaching for you all to get a little taste also of what the coaching looks like in my program, because these are kind of some of the topics that I would cover in our one-on-one calls and group calls in the coaching container. And I actually just started our group calls in our IG thread, our group thread in IG for all of my new luminaries. And I am still accepting new luminaries. I actually have only 4 spots left in the coaching program, 4 spots left in the coaching program before it's sold out for a couple of months at least, because I've got to get new products in, I've got to get new things going. And so 4 spots only 4 spots left in the coaching program. So if you know you want coaching from me and you've been wanting mentorship in your spiritual growth and really wanting to access more of your authentic self, really wanting to learn things like this about intuition and how to develop it, how to read it, how to process it, how to integrate it, then please reach out to me, readingsbyrissa@gmail.com for email, or you can book a consultation call in the link in the description of this video, and it will be really, really great to talk to you about the details of this coaching program, because there's only 4 spots left. So you may be one of those 4 if you get in on time. So definitely book a call if you need to. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right, so that's the first message of the week. How's everybody feeling with the first message? If intuition doesn't make sense, then put some energy to generate your intuitive voice, or let the energy develop on its own by observing it and staying aware of it, okay? What cards are in here? Oh, my luminary cards are in here. I was like, why are they in here all by themselves? All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next message. The next message of this week is a battle of belonging. Wow, that was intense. Oh, I'm gonna move slow, y'all. My back is hurting. Okay, a battle of belonging. Apparently the cards felt like they didn't belong in my hand. But a battle of belonging is the message here, okay? And this is something that's been coming up on and off in the collective as I've been reading it. The energy also of just the way things are shifting right now. It feels as though we are all in a place of wanting to find where we fit. We are all trying to figure out where we fit. And that can be a difficult task. And we can get frustrated and we can feel lost. We can feel lost when we are searching for the sensation of belonging in a place where we fit. And as light workers in this world, all of us are experiencing this because we're noticing that there's different levels of, different categories of expression in this world right now, even in the spiritual world and industry. And despite all those categories of expression, a lot of them are pretty etched in stone as far as like what type of spiritualists, right? Like you have like the coaches, you have like the intuitives, you have the healers, you have more of the plant medicine, shaman energy parts of expression. And it kind of seems like everybody's in their own vibe, but like mixing and matching is like not as easy to see an embodiment of. Like there's not as many examples of people just being without label, without limit, right? Without categorization. And so then that kind of makes those of us who are a little bit of everything or a mixture of things, it makes us feel like we don't belong, like we have to pick something, we have to pick one, we have to do one. And we don't, okay? We don't. We actually get to create our own lane. We actually get to create our own space of belonging. So this is just an example. I'm just talking about the spiritual industry and light workers right now as a relatable industry to discuss a relatable kind of scenario. But this is also happening in our personal lives where we're feeling like, oh, we're kind of a mixture of this and that, but we're not really supported in being both. We feel like we have to pick one or fit in a certain category. And if we don't feel like we're all the way 100% connected to that, it can still feel like we're lost. It still feels like we're having this battle of belonging. Like, where do we fit? Where does our unique energy get to relax and ground into, right? And so if you're feeling this way, give yourself some grace. Breathe deeply and remind yourself that you can find your sense of belonging right here, right now within your heart. Because you belong with yourself, you belong with spirit, you belong with source, you belong with the universe that is working with you and moving through you all day, every day. And you belong with Mother Earth. These very basic, simple things that we can remind ourselves of whenever we're feeling like we are struggling with a sense of belonging. And wherever you're struggling with it, whether you don't feel like you belong in your career or your work environment, or whether you don't feel like you belong in your family dynamic, or whether you don't feel like you belong in your relationship dynamic, or just in certain areas and locations in general, like communities, the sense of belonging is not something that you need to seek outside of yourself. You get to seek belonging within. You get to belong to yourself. You get to belong to the earth. You get to belong to source. And you get to fit there. And if you can remind yourself of that, and if you can find peace and grace in that, then any other areas where you feel like you don't belong doesn't really matter, because you always still have a place, a sacred space where you fit in. And so you end up losing that stress or concern around needing to fit in other areas when you recognize that you just need to honor where you already fit in the most simple and authentic ways, right? In the most natural ways. So honor that and feel it out in other areas where you're feeling like you don't belong, in other areas of your life. Feel it out. Don't react too quickly. Don't assume too quickly. Don't act too quickly on that energy. Feel out the energy first. This goes back to that intuition not making sense and that kind of needing to ground that in and regenerate that intuitive voice in order to really hear and see and feel all the intuitive message that you need to receive, so that you can get all the details of it before making a decision. Because if you react to an intuitive message or a feeling or a sensation too early before it develops and gives you all the details of it, then you're making a presumptive kind of choice, and that could really steer you in a direction that would be just not so aligned to what you're wanting. So honor that as well, okay? This also goes back to patience, which we'll talk about again in a second. But yeah, this battle of belonging, okay? And this is bringing up a lot of shadow work as well. This is bringing up a lot of the parts of us that are insecure and judgmental towards ourselves, and even judgmental towards others, or even the parts of us that assume that others are being judgmental towards us, that fear of judgment, lots of shadow work around that. So this battle of belonging is also bringing up the shadow work that we need to face within ourselves, so that we can find peace through our evolution and development, because we are literally evolving right now. And look, the shadow work card comes up again with the shower of light card, okay? So this is saying, shower yourself in light. Do the work to see what's coming up and being unveiled through this battle of belonging. And then do the work to shower yourself in the light that you are, and trust that you are strong enough, that you have what it takes, that you do fit, because you have your light. Your light is where you belong. Okay? Your authentic self is where you belong. So honor that. It says, the shadow work card, it is okay to be imperfect, flawed, and scarred. In fact, it allows for a beautiful rebirth. Okay, we are rebirthing with this full moon in Scorpio today. The repressed parts of you are rising to the surface. That's that shadow. They're rising to the surface, those repressed aspects, the repressed judgments of self, the repressed insecurities, the repressed fears around belonging, okay? They're rising to the surface to be seen and accepted as the warrior stripes that they are. Okay, these are warrior stripes that you have from when you had those traumatic experiences that created those shadows, okay? These are warrior stripes. These are proof that you survived that, okay? Honor all that you have been through by appreciating the wisdom and wealth you've gained from it, okay? That wisdom and wealth that you've gained from this energy of shadow that was developed from trauma is the work that you get to put into your life right now to be the alchemist, okay? So whatever you learned and gained from those really tough times in your life and those battle scars that you're seeing surface right now, what you gained and what you learned, that is your medicine for this point in your life right now. That is your light for this part in your life right now. That is your path of acceleration and ascension for your life right now. And so bathe yourself in light, the shower of light card says. Bathe yourself in light, the light of that wisdom, the light of that wealth from your shadow work experiences, the light of your awareness, the things that really became clear to you after you had those traumatic experiences that are represented by your shadows. Bathe yourself in that light. Visualize and allow the infinite illumination of Source to rain divine love, abundance, and cleansing onto you now. Source light can clear pain, tension, anxiety, toxic energy, or anything else that has been holding you separate from your highest vibration. That's how powerful light is. The light of your awareness, the light of your wisdom, the light of your authentic self, okay? It says, I am rinsed in the golden white light of the divine. It is protecting me, holding me, and guiding me on my path, okay? So let that light of wisdom and wealth from the times where you gained those shadows and are now having to see them, let that light guide you in what you're moving through next, okay? Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? Let me know. Thank you for the super chat donation, Maria. I appreciate it so much. I see you over there, Kevin. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support as well and all the comments. All right, so the next message is recognize and release self-sabotage, okay? So this is another shadow that we're facing, all right? So I don't know if you're noticing what I'm doing here with this reading, but the first shadow we talked about was the battle of belonging, okay? These shadows showing up that we need to face around belonging, okay? This next, the first shadow I talked about was the intuition not making sense, the intuition not feeling safe to trust. That's a shadow coming up. We need to shine light on that, okay? Face that shadow of where you're not trusting or not letting the intuition develop enough to trust it, okay? Second shadow we're facing of this week, that shadow of the feeling of battling with your belonging. Where do I fit in? How do I fit in? Do I fit in here? And why or why not, right? And the judgment that can be around that, okay? That's the second shadow we're facing of this week. The third shadow we're facing of this week is recognizing and releasing self-sabotage. We have a tendency to self-sabotage. Why do we do this? We do it all the time. If you catch yourself, you know this. We will say negative things about ourselves, or we will put ourselves in positions that we know aren't good for us, or we will do things that we know are yawning again, counterproductive to our intuition. Yawning again around this message of counterproductive to our intuition, meaning that a lot of you are not opening your third eye. You're not breathing into your spirit in those moments you need those answers. You've got to let yourself open up instead of closing down. Okay, that's another self-sabotage action. When you're going through something and you're needing clarity, or you're feeling confused and you're choosing to ignore that feeling and not be the investigator, not open up to receiving messages from your intuition, not open up to reflection and inner self-awareness, that is you closing down, okay? And that's another self-sabotage thing, because you're closing down to the answers and the resolutions that your spirit are trying to give you, okay? Does that make sense? So we want to shine light onto the shadows around self-sabotage. I guarantee if you know yourself well enough at this point in your life that you know some of your biggest self-sabotaging tendencies. If you know them, I want you to put them in the comments right now. Comment your most your biggest self-sabotaging tendencies. What are the things that you do that you know self-sabotage you almost every time, but somehow you keep doing them? Put them in the comments, because I guarantee you somebody else will have the same self-sabotaging patterns, or somebody else on here watching has one of yours that they didn't even think about until you put it in the comments. And now we're all supporting each other. We're all holding space for each other. We're all being the investigators for each other on this, because we have to face these shadows. And by saying them and acknowledging them, we are also shining the light of awareness on them. So put it in the comments. What are some of the biggest self-sabotaging actions that you know you participate in, or even have participated in the past, that you know are self-sabotaging? I want to see them. A couple of my self-sabotaging actions is being complacent. And I know that sounds really crazy because I'm always showing up on these readings. I'm like always consistent here. But more so just in other things like the business side of my business, or, you know, things that are not as inspiring for me to do. I can definitely get a little complacent and then not get those things done. And then, you know, I end up not getting the benefits of if they were done. So that's definitely one of my self-sabotaging actions. What are yours? Oh, what are yours? Let me say that again through my yawn. I want to see some comments coming in. Let me see. I got 7 people watching at least. I want to see some comments. It's okay to out yourself. It's okay to talk about these things. You're human. It's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to be flawed. Listen to the shadow work hard. That's part of facing your shadow. Part of facing your shadow is accepting that there is a shadow there. A lot of us have our egos so wrapped up in like our representation of self or our reputation. We're afraid to talk about the parts of us that are imperfect. We're afraid to be vulnerable about that. And that's actually a real disservice to us and our community, because we end up not talking about the things that we are all experiencing that needs attention and needs to be transmuted, right? So what are some of your self-sabotaging things? Is it procrastination? Is it judgment of self or negative self-talk? Is it complacency? Is it continuing to entertain toxic relationships, or ignoring the signs that are telling you a different route to go? What are they for you? Because we've got to recognize them in order to release them. That is how we face the shadow. We have to recognize that there is a shadow there. And when we do, we are then facing it and shining light of awareness on it, which then clears the shadow. Because what happens when you shine light on a shadow? The shadow is no longer, right? It goes away because the light drowns it out. And that's what we're going to be seeing too with this lunar eclipse. It's drowning out the shadow by showing us it in full effect, by bringing it to the light. And that often feels really uncomfortable, really triggering, really traumatic at first, because we're like, dang, that's why we put those shadows in there in the dark, so that they didn't touch the light and they didn't have to be seen again and experienced again. But I promise you, these things are what helps us to clear it so we can evolve, okay? There we go. I see y'all in the comments. See? Look at how powerful we can be when we start sharing. When we start sharing our shadow. Listen, The monthly card for this month of the year in May is sharing. Look at us sharing our shadow work here. That is such a beautiful thing. That is so beautiful that you are all able to share your shadows here, because that means that you are being transparent, that you are being open, that you are being receptive, and that you are also being generous with how your shadows can help other people find their way. Okay, so beautiful. Let me read some of these. Hopefully I won't turn my phone off. Okay, yeah, look at this. Procrastination I'm seeing as a theme. Yeah, beautiful. Communicating through anger, not feeling like you're enough, not responding immediately and feeling through energies to process things. Walking shadow work, Kevin says, yes. Self-sabotaging behavior, overthinking, and second guessing. Yes, good. Shares. A round of applause for all of you. Give yourselves a pat on the back or a hug for that. I know it's not easy to share your shadow, but how did that feel? I bet that felt relieving. I bet you felt a sense of relief when you said it out loud. I bet you probably got a little bit more awareness when you started to say it out loud around it. You started to think about things a little bit more clearly. You started to see it a little bit more, right? When you talk about it, that's because the light of awareness is starting to reveal more light, more consciousness to help you drown out that shadow, to help you resolve and clear it, okay? Look at how it works that quick. Really good, right? It felt freeing, it felt relieving. I'm so proud of you all. So keep doing that, okay? Talk about your shadow. Talk about the energy that comes up. Write about it, journal about it. This is how we work it out. This is how we let it be released, okay? Let's pull a card on that. I know I've been drilling this message in a little bit longer than the others, but it's really important, okay? The second part of this message is asking yourself, are you afraid to grow, and why? Are you afraid to grow, and why? Why are you afraid to grow? We have to have the courage to grow. If you've ever heard that song by Revolution, actually I think it's a whole album, but there's also a song on the album called Courage to Grow. It's, I believe, their first album by Revolution, Rebelution, Revolution. Great reggae band, one of my favorite reggae bands actually. But they have a song called Courage to Grow, and it's also their first album, and it's such a powerful album. I was just listening to it yesterday. And we have to have the courage to grow. And a lot of times yes, great album. I love that you know that album too, Danielle. A lot of times we get given the opportunity to grow and like kind of cheat our way to the top through being offered things, or kind of becoming something that we're not, or making, cutting corners is what I'm trying to say. We can either cut corners to our growth, or we can have the courage to really grow. Because when we cut corners to our growth and we just look like we've grown, we look like we've evolved, we talk like we've evolved, we act like we've evolved, but internally we haven't actually done the work, then we've gotten this false growth. We've gotten this false expansion, false evolution. And that false evolution may look like real evolution on the outside, but after some time it fades and drops off, and then boom, it's as if it never even happened, right? They go right back to where they were at before that false evolution started showing up. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want to cut corners to our growth and have false evolution, because eventually we're going to be smacked down right back to that first step, so that until we don't cut corners anymore. We're going to have to do the work anyway. We can't delay the inevitable, okay? So have the courage to grow. Having the courage to grow is actually taking the steps, doing the work, talking about these things, going into those difficult depths of ourself, and then sharing it in just as difficult way, right? That's how we do the work, okay? And that's how we grow. And ask yourself, is there something within you that's afraid to grow, that's afraid to succeed, that's afraid to expand and evolve? And why? Because if you don't acknowledge that, then you're not going to be able to get past it, okay? So that's another shadow we're shining on. we're shining light on. The shadow around our fears to grow, okay? The shadow around our fears to grow. Before I even pull this card about self-sabotage, I'm going to pull one more about this courage to grow. Any shadows around our evolution and our expansion. You know, the shadow work gives us rebirth, and then we are able to expand into new levels of our consciousness. But if we're afraid to do that, then we end up looping and looping and looping in our shadow work, never really getting outside of it, okay? Wow. Responding, not reacting is the first message around self-sabotage. So in order to release the self-sabotage, we need to respond and not react, okay? Respond and not react. That means to take a couple deep breaths and consciously choose how you want to move through the energy, okay? That's what responding is. Reacting is not consciously choosing anything. It's just a freaking immediate knee-jerk reaction. It's not, there's no thought, there's no intention, there's no sense of center. It's just reactionary, okay? So it says the only control we have is in how we respond to the hand we are dealt, okay? So honor the fact that we've got to release some control, okay? We don't have as much control as we think we do, and that's often why we suffer, okay? That's often why we self-sabotage and why we, develop shadows and why we end up suffering, is because, we don't have the control we want, okay? So we got to let go of that control, and we've got to really honor the fact that we only have control on how we respond to what we are dealt, not so much about the control over what we are dealt. Obviously, manifestation does give us some control, but remember, it's a co-creation with source, and there's a lot of other factors at random that can affect our manifestations. So don't get too hard on yourself when manifestation doesn't come to fruition. Trust that it's not supposed to, or that there's a reason for it, or that the timing was off, or something else needs to develop, because the source has a lot more information than we do about what we're asking for and when is going to be the right time to receive it and how and etc. Okay, so don't react out of character or out of your vibration. Instead, take some time to respond, okay? Especially when it comes to the things that you're seeing self-sabotage within yourself, the shadows of self-sabotage within yourself. Don't respond to those by beating yourself up. Don't react to those by beating yourself up or cutting yourself down or judging yourself more, or creating more shadows for yourself. Instead, respond with conscious awareness of how you want to move through this energy for your highest good, okay? And then in regards to your fears to grow, why are you afraid to grow? The sharing card comes up. Sharing, which is the card for this month of May, okay? So this is saying, share your fears. Talk about it. It says there's giving and receiving and receiving and giving. So when you share your shadows with others, they are receiving awareness of their own shadow, and they're able to then give you some insight for your shadow, and then you give them insight for their shadow, and then ultimately both of you have now shined with a light of awareness on it to where it's almost non-existent because you've worked through it together. So there can be a lot of power in coming together in this shadow work, talking about the shadow work you're facing right now this week, which is actually really interesting for the Scorpio energy, because Scorpios usually go inward and they don't really like to talk too much about what they're experiencing. The Scorpio full moon in lunar eclipse is really, really encouraging us to share the shadow work that we're feeling, not just hold it in, okay? Does that help? Any questions there? All right, let's keep going. The next message is purging energy of the past. This is more shadow work. This is another shadow we're shining light of awareness on. This is why we're facing all the shadows this week. That's why that's the message of this week. Really allowing ourselves to purge energy of the past. What is no longer attached to your definition of self now, right? We have evolved from who we were as children, who we were as teenagers, who we were as young adults, and who we are now, right? And if we were still defining ourselves by who we were at 5 years old, that would be pretty crazy, right? Like, could you imagine not ever purging that definition of self and just still having it? I'm sure you've seen people that kind of are still very attached to their 5-year-old self, right? that's not really a good look. You know, it's one thing to have your inner child feel really healthy, but it's another thing to still be defined by who you were years and years and years ago, where you have not grown or evolved, but you've kind of stayed in the same place, right? If we don't purge the energy of the past, we can't move forward. So a lot of times when we see people who are regressed into their childhood in that way, it's because they haven't purged the trauma or the energy of that time in their life, or they haven't purged the trauma or energy that occurred right before or right after that part of their life. And so they're kind of stuck in that part of their life, right? Because they haven't purged the trauma, or they haven't purged the milestone and the development of the old, so that they could get to the new. Does that make sense? So we have to do the same thing. And anytime we're feeling stuck or stagnant, or we feel like we need to get some things done in order to get to the next stage of our life, we've got to purge the energy of the past, so that we're not weighed down or tied to that anymore, or defining ourselves by that anymore. Because if we're defining ourselves by the past, then we can't become our future. Okay? If we're defining ourselves by the past, we cannot become our future. That's a bar. I'm gonna have to make that a post sometime today, so hopefully I remember that. But we've really got to honor that, okay? So how can you purge energy from your past that is keeping you from your future? All right? Is it insecurities of your past? Is it stories that you told yourself or were conditioned to believe? Limiting beliefs from your past? Is it people from your past that are mirroring more of that same old shit to your life and bringing you back into it, bringing that energy back into your life because you haven't let them go, right? You got to be able to purge energy of the past. So you got to be willing to. And in order to do that, we need a little fire most of the time. Fire being assertiveness, passion, intent, and in this case, the fire from our dragons. Because purging requires some burning away of things. And of course, we've got the Scorpio full moon, so purging can also be washing it away with all those depths of emotions in the ocean of Scorpio, that water sign. But whatever purging is for you, honor it. Honor it if it's through boundary setting and passionate expression for clearing, or if it's emotions and facing the depths of emotions and clearing that. Dragon love comes up for us with this message of purging energy of the past. Love endures, preserves, and creates the conditions for growth. We dragons now offer all you need to create loving bonds that enrich and inspire you. Open your heart wide and be ready to receive. How beautiful is that? So we're in a place right now where we get to really honor the growth that we have through the love that we get to shower ourselves with. And so when you're purging energy of the past, shower yourself with love. Give yourself the opportunity to also lean into the loving relationships in your life that are not mirroring that past energy and that are representing more of your future, okay? Because love creates those conditions for growth. And so love is such a powerful energy, and it can be really, really useful for this purging process. How can you love yourself through the purging process? How can you love the others that you are purging through this purging process and still honor it? And how can you lean into the people that you love to get more support through this purging process? Okay, that's what you want to do. All right, only 2 more messages and then we'll get to the astrology and the full moon stuff. The next message is patience. Again, we're talking about patience again. Yes, I know we just talked about it a couple weeks ago, but this is being persistent with patience, okay? Patience isn't a thing that we just do once and then never do again. This is something that we have to develop the skill and muscle for. We have to be persistent with our patience. We have to allow ourselves to continue to choose patience. And a lot of choosing patience resorts to detaching from the control that we crave in the situation, okay? The control that we crave in a situation is usually what keeps us from our patience, okay? So how can you detach from the control you crave so that you can have more patience and you can be persistent in patience, okay? Maybe you think that if you try to force everything, you can make a certain outcome happen. Maybe you've got to detach from that outcome too, right? Because you're trying to control the outcome. So that's the root that needs to be cleared, right? If you're trying to control the experience or the flow of something, that also needs to be released, right? Because patience will not allow you to control the timeline of things. It makes you wait. It makes you center and relax into the present moment, okay? And often when you do, you end up getting so much from that. You get to relish in the reality of the presence instead of being so wound up in this craving to control the future, okay? Or even the past for some of you. So how can you be persistent in your patience this week? How can you detach from the control you crave this week? That is going to be another shadow that we shine light on this week that is going to be so helpful in our evolution, okay? Let's pull a card on that one. Ooh, y'all, my back is starting to tighten up again. So if you see me moving weird, that's what it is. The body is a interesting thing. Also pay attention to your physical body. If you have tension in certain areas, recognize where it's at, send love to it, send light to it, send that shower of light energy to it, because that also might be shadow energy surfacing in your body that you didn't know was there. Unprocessed energy, unprocessed trauma, and when you shine light of awareness and love onto it, it starts to heal itself, okay? So just another added message there based on this back pain I'm feeling, y'all. Sheesh. I really do think it was just me exercising a little too crazily on the pole last night, honestly. I'm outing my vixen right now. She was going in. Anyway, serenity. Serenity comes up with patience, okay? Patience gives us serenity when we allow it to. When we really release ourselves from the control we crave and we really relax into patience, we find a beautiful serenity, a beautiful peace there. Because we no longer need to control. We give ourselves a permission to just be and to just receive and to just accept and observe in that patience. So honor the serenity that you get to gain from patience when you step into it, okay? A lot of us are like, oh, we are just being patient because we have to be, right? But there's also a benefit to patience. We can want to be patient because patience gives us peace, and it gives us presence, and it gives us stillness and balance and centeredness and grounding. So get excited to be patient and honor how much serenity you'll gain from really surrendering into it, okay? Detaching from the control you crave. All right, the last spirit message before we move into astrology is the karmic and past life lessons. This is a big one. We are seeing a lot of karmic and past life lessons surfacing right now with this full moon lunar eclipse happening tonight, and with the Mercury retrograde energy, and just right now in the energy frequency. A lot of karmic relationships ending or showing back up so that they can be closed and completed. Lots of past life lessons surfacing so that we can access the past life power behind it and use it for our present life experience. So if you haven't ever had a past life reading, or you don't know much about past lives or karmic relationships, or if you're feeling like you've been needing more information about that personally for yourself, please let me know, because drum roll, I am giving you a sale, a past life sale, past life reading sale. Instead of $133 for the hour and 15-minute session, it is only now $100. I knocked off $33 for from now until, let's see, I would say today's the 15th. From now until the 1st, so this is gonna be a 2-week sale. From now until the 1st, past life readings are only $100. So go to the link in my description right now and go schedule your past life reading before it gets booked up, because it's only $100 now instead of $133. So big sale for you all, because I really believe in these karmic relationships, these past life lessons coming up to be seen so that they can be revealed for soul power and activation, okay? Because we're being reborn, and a lot of being reborn right now with this Scorpio full moon is going into the past and seeing what you need to see in order to rebirth yourself from it, right? So we talked about that wisdom and wealth that you gained from the past and the shadows of the past, helping you to light the way of your future, purging energy of the past to help you step into your future, asking yourself why you're afraid to grow and why why you may be attached to certain things of your past to keep you from your future. All of this is in relation to that. So with all that being said, I wanted to give a little love offering of a big sale for the past life readings, taking $33 off that reading price and offering it at only $100 for the entire hour and 15-minute reading, which is super, super powerful and life-changing, because you get to find out who you were before you were who you are today. And that's a pretty powerful set of information that can truly shift the trajectory of your life in amazing ways. Because you recognize who you truly are underneath all that you are right here, right now. So super, super beautiful. So if you want to take advantage of that past life sale, definitely go to the link in the description of this video, the book a session link, click on the past life sessions. And even though it doesn't reflect the sale price on the past life description of the reading yet, I will send you the invoice according to the sale price. So I'm going to change all that info when I get off this call, this reading. But I wanted to just at least offer it to all of you, very loyal viewers on YouTube. I always like to offer you the sales first, okay? So shout out to that. All right, let's pull a card about this past life, karmic life lesson energy, and then we will go ahead and talk about this crazy astrology that we're experiencing this week to add to everything else, okay? How are we feeling? Let me know if you're still viewing. Let me know if you're still watching. Let me know how you're feeling, how you're receiving these messages. Woohoo, life restored. Life restored from the karmic and past life lessons energy. This is so perfect. It says spiritual resurrection is gifted to you now. Wow. Spiritual resurrection is gifted to you now. Whatever part of you or your life you thought to be dead is being revived and will flourish back into life. Maybe your past life power, maybe. Just as the phoenix rises from the fire, transitioning from death into life, so too you will rise again, healed and renewed. I have nothing else to say to that, because literally we've been talking about rebirth and resurrection this whole time, and then we get the life restored card for this past life power karmic lesson energy. So yeah, if you're wanting to get your life restored, if you're wanting some soul power, some regeneration around your light, your life, your energy, your purpose, your soul mission, definitely take advantage of that past life sale. Also, if you know for a fact that you want some support in your spiritual journey and you really want to restore your life in every aspect, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and energetically, reach out to me for coaching. There's only 4 spots left for coaching, okay? And they're gonna fill up fast because I've got some consultation calls coming up. And if you want to be one of those 4 remaining seats in the coaching program that I have, the Intuitive Development Coaching Program, the Luminary, Intuitive Luminary Coaching Course and Program, then definitely click the link in the description for a free consultation call, and we will talk about the details and see if you're a good candidate and if the program is a good candidate for you. Because it will definitely help you restore your soul power, your authentic self, your life where it's found a way to, found its way away from its path. If you felt distracted from your soul purpose or from your path, the coaching helps with that, okay? And I'm helping 6 people right now tap into their gifts, and hopefully 4 more, because there's 4 more spots available, okay? And we just started our group thread on Instagram, so definitely you want to get into the program sooner than later to start receiving the benefit of the community support there too, okay? All right, everybody. So we talked about life restored. We are getting that energy back as we discover our past life lessons and shine light on that, and also close karmic contracts and things like that. We're going to feel our life restored this week. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the astrology, and then we'll pull 3 cards for summary and call it a day. Let's talk about this full moon, y'all. 515 today, full moon in Scorpio, lunar eclipse. It's also a super moon, which means it's a little closer to Earth than it usually is, and it looks really, really big. It's also a blood moon, okay, which is the second full moon in a month? I think it is, or something like that. Yeah, I think so. I gotta remember what a blood moon is. If you know what a blood moon is, type it into the comments because I always forget. But this is a powerful moon, okay? We also have Mercury retrograde in Gemini at the same time as this full moon in Scorpio. Now, what is a Scorpio vibration? The Scorpio is a water sign. The Scorpio is also the ruler of the underworld, so it's very shadowy. And the Scorpio is also a scorpion. It stings. It likes to stay on its own. It likes to be independent. It likes to do its own thing. It's very, very good at just staying strong and powerful in its own vibration, on its own. Keeps itself protected with its, with its skeleton. But if you mess with it or you threaten it, it's gonna sting you. Okay, and that sting is powerful and it lasts a while. Okay, and that's the sting of the shadow. Okay, the sting of the shadow, the sting of the underworld. So when we do a lot of work to cover up what's in our shadow, what's in the shadows, we end up stinging ourselves because we end up threatening our light. Okay, so that's a big part of why we are all needing to do the shadow work we need to do right now. Okay, because a lot of us have maybe covered up what we know we needed to work on or ignored what we know we needed to work on. And we've hidden it in the shadows, okay? But that's threatening our light because it's now creating an imbalance of shadow and light within our being, where we're more shadow than we are light because we're just not processing the shadow or clearing it. So the Scorpio full moon is helping us to see that within ourselves, and it's making us kind of sting ourselves. We're having to kick ourselves in the butt a little bit. We're having to tell ourselves, hey, get it together. You could do better. This is where you could be improving, right? There's a lot of tough love on ourselves with this full moon in Scorpio lunar eclipse, okay? So notice how you may be transmuting some shadows or maybe needing to transmute some shadows that you haven't transmuted in some time, and start doing that work, okay? This is also going to be a very emotional moon, if you haven't already noticed. So lots of emotions coming up. Also lots of just trauma from the past or pain from the past, needing to be processed, things that you didn't process fully because it was too tough back then, or you just weren't in a space to. Now it's coming up to be re-seen and cleared and processed, okay? So don't push it down again because it's only going to scream louder later. Make sure that whatever's coming up for you, you really do the work to process it completely at this time, okay? There's also going to be some sudden changes with this Scorpio full moon. I'm also getting that there's a lot of death happening this Scorpio full moon, unexpected and sudden. So just know that that's part of it. Soul contracts ending, people choosing to leave, not obviously consciously, but their spirit choosing to leave this plane of existence and go to the spiritual realm instead, right? Transitioning. Honoring the way that happens and knowing that we have to process our emotions around it. We have to be patient with our emotions around it. And we have to be graceful in the way in which we are moving through that stuff, okay? Yeah, there's a lot there. The Scorpio energy is also, it can also be very isolating. And so some of us may feel like we want to retreat and isolate. That is why the cards have been telling us to share a lot. And that's also why the message for this month is sharing, because it's encouraging us not to do that isolating stuff. Obviously, if you need time alone, take it. But if you know that you're isolating because you're really lonely and sad, instead of isolating more, try to put yourself in situations where you will feel less lonely or you will feel more happy, okay? Don't self-sabotage with that loneliness or isolation into more of that energy, okay? Ceres also enters Cancer today, and Ceres is the mothering asteroid, and so it's also going to be really nice to receive a lot of comfort from our loved ones, from any mothering energy in our life, Mama Gaia, just giving us waves of comfort and nurturance, just really allowing ourselves to mother ourselves through some of the depths of the shadow, okay? Because it's intense. We're moving through a lot of energy. A lot of us are processing a lot of complex energy that is also very heavy. And a lot of us are also the strong ones for other people in our life. So if you are that person, make sure you're taking the time for yourself to honor yourself and recharge yourself and hold space for yourself and mother yourself through things before you mother others through it, okay? So stay near to close ones and loved ones at this time. That's going to be a really supporting energy for this full moon Scorpio lunar eclipse. Also with the lunar eclipse completing that solar eclipse last moon with that new moon energy in Taurus. Was it Taurus? I think. New moon in Taurus, yeah, solar eclipse. We had Pallas Athena entering Taurus that day for problem solving, and now this full moon in Scorpio, we have Ceres entering Cancer for mothering comfort. So just recognizing that as well, noticing how problem solving is still a theme right now, but now we're pulling in some mothering energy to help with any problem solving as well, because we have to feel good in order to find better solutions for things. If we're not feeling good energetically or emotionally, it's going to be hard for us to find a solution. That's why it's not really great for us to try to find solutions to problems when we're in a depressive or anxious state of being, or when we're feeling really heavy from the problem. It's usually better to solve the problem once you've processed the heaviness of it, and then you'll be able to really get the right answer, okay? Because you've comforted yourself through it. Okay, so that's going to help with some of our problem solving from the last few weeks as well, as getting that mothering comfort from Ceres entering Cancer, another water sign. Also, Cancers can be very sensitive to things, so we may feel even more emotionally sensitive to the ways that we need comfort at this time, or even more emotionally sensitive to the comfort we receive too. Sun in Taurus, square Saturn in Aquarius today as well. We talked about that a little bit last week also. This is going to be some stubborn energy, making co-creation a little difficult. So be aware of that. We also have Sun in Taurus, sextile Neptune in Pisces, which is giving us some humanitarian energy, okay? Helping us to really see how we can help the world and shape the world for better, just better success overall, okay? Then on the 17th, and I'll talk more about the Scorpio full moon tonight in the IG live at around 7 p.m. Central. I'm going live on my Instagram to talk a little bit more about the full moon and pull some cards and just get some questions. If anybody has questions about the Scorpio full moon or how you're feeling through it, make sure to join that live on IG because I'll be answering your questions there too, okay? So we'll talk more about that. It's also a flower moon. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about the blood moon thing as well. Also remember that today is 515, which was the portal entry day for transformation and change, really aligning to positive change based on what we're learning we need to do to get there, okay? So some tough love lessons to help us move into creating and manifesting our new evolved selves by the 6th month of June, right? Okay, because that 6th month is the creative month, the conceiving month of what we, or the receiving month from what we are conceiving now, okay? So on the 17th, Mars is in Pisces, conjunct Neptune in Pisces. This is going to give us some aspiration for really big dreams and goals to be manifested. We're going to be called to follow the art, follow our creative spirit on the 17th with that Mars in Pisces conjunct Neptune in Pisces, okay? Then on the 19th, the sun is in Taurus, trine Pluto in Capricorn. We're going to want to focus on finances that day, okay? Financial focus is essential. That's going to give us some opportunities to budget and just get our finances in order and get things really organized for our success and abundance in the future. And then we've got Mercury retrograde in Gemini, sextiling Jupiter in Aries on the 19th as well. This is going to encourage us to think more about the future and visualize actions to get us there. So it's going to really help us with expansion and give us a lot of nice ideas for a blueprint for our expansion in the next coming months. Then on the 20th of May, Gemini season starts. My favorite season of the year, because I am a sun Gemini and a rising Gemini, and my Mercury's in Gemini. I'm a Gemini through and through, y'all. So Gemini season starts on the 20th. Super exciting for that. Sun is in Gemini conjunct Mercury in Gemini. This is going to be a very great day for social interactions and communication and even connection with spirit and communication with your intuition, because that's what us Geminis are great at. So really, really fun for that. Also a great day for adventurousness and just being more social and fun and engaging with things. And we'll talk more about Gemini season as well as we get into it, especially next week. I'll talk a lot more about it because we'll be officially in it and integrated in it. Then on Sunday when we meet again on the 22nd of May, we have Mercury retrograde entering Taurus. This is actually going to make Mercury retrograde feel even slower, y'all. I don't really have any great messages to deliver on that. We may feel a little bit more stuck that day, but the good thing is we'll at least know why we feel that way, okay? So if you're feeling a little extra stuck next Sunday, it's because Mercury retrograde is entering Taurus, the very grounded earthly Taurus sign, so it's grounding it in even more, making it a little bit harder to move through. So be patient. That's where our patience is going to kick in. It's going to be really, really helpful, okay? And then Mars is in Pisces, sextile Pluto in Capricorn that day. It's going to give us some strength for impossible tasks or what seems like impossible tasks. So even though things might feel a little slow and sludgy, we're going to have that Mars in Pisces really supporting us on getting things done anyway, which is going to be really helpful for balance. So love that. Let me know how these astrological influences feel for you thus far, and definitely keep plugging in throughout the week to check back and see how they're influencing you throughout the week as you experience them, because this information will really be helpful when you're really in the middle of the energy needing some guidance. So that's why I do these weekly readings, so that you can always come back and be like, oh yeah, she said that this was going to happen and she told me how to move through it, because now it's happening and I don't know what to do, but now I do, because the weekly reading told me, right? That's what I do it for. Hopefully it works. Hopefully I'm doing my job right. That's all I can hope for. But yeah, so let's pull some cards now. Let's see what we have for summary of this week in general. I'm going to pull a Voyager card for the first card of the week, the beginning of the week card for this week of May 15th to May 22nd, where we have this portal of transformation for creative energy and manifestation. What are we needing to transform in our lives and ourselves for our ability to create what we want in our lives next month? Let's see, I'm feeling a water animal card for the middle of the week, especially with this full moon in Scorpio, water and energy. I love it. Love it. And then end of the week card. Let's go with the Angels of Atlantis. Actually, no. Let's go with Mother Mary. Mary and Mother Mary. Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary cards. These are really good for the heart stuff and the healing stuff and the karmic stuff that we're moving through this week. So let's feel into that for the end of the week card. Boom. 2 cards for the end of the week. All right, let's see what we got. Yes. Oh my gosh, no way. That's so funny. Okay, first card is a synthesis card at the beginning of the week, letting us know that we really need to find synergy with things. Synergy with our intuition is what I'm getting, and synergy with our authentic self. Remember, we talked about our intuition needing to develop and how we need to regenerate that so we can let it develop into more concrete messages that we can read and understand. So find synergy with the process of developing your intuition so that you can actually read the energy for you in your personal life and then know exactly how to move through everything you want to move through. Like literally, intuition is the key to everything. It's literally the answer to everything. Like anytime you need to know what to do in your life, intuition will tell you, and it will be accurate if you develop it. It's the answer to everything. So honor that. Get into synergy with your intuition and do whatever it takes to do so, because it's worth it. Okay, it's worth it. And then also get into synergy with that authentic self, so that you can really honor the fact that you belong with you. You belong here in your being on this planet, connected to source, and you don't need to feel like you fit in anywhere else when you honor who you are authentically. And those two things, the synergy and synthesis of that, is literally what I teach in my coaching program. So if you know you want some support on that, you want a mentor, and you've been looking for an opportunity to invest in that for yourself, here I am. Let this be a sign that is showing you synthesis with your own intuition, and manifestation of it. And click the link in the description, schedule a consultation call, and we'll talk about the program so that you can be one of the 4 people left to sign up, because there's only 4 spots available as of right now for probably the rest of the year, to be real. But the guides told me to keep it open for the whole year, but I literally only have 4 spots left. So we're gonna have to see what happens, because those 4 spots, once those 4 spots are open, are cut off, then I can't really offer it. I gotta put some things in place to get the next round going. So yeah, 4 spots left. If you want to be one of them, definitely seize the day. Okay. So the synthesis card is there for all of that, finding synthesis with your energy, finding synthesis with your intuition, finding synthesis with your authentic self. The next card, the middle of the week card, is Dancing in the Rainbow. We had this card show up a couple times over the last month as well. This is such a beautiful card. This says, break free from whatever you feel is holding you back. Express happiness. Find out what you truly desire. Follow your joy. Okay? Follow your joy. We talked about releasing self-sabotage and no longer being afraid to grow. Both of those things help us in recognizing where we need to go for our joy, right? When we release self-sabotage and when we stop fearing our ability to grow, we end up following our joy. We end up dancing in the rainbow. We end up feeling what we truly desire outside of our judgments or our shadows. And that is some powerful stuff, some freeing, liberating stuff, okay? End of the week cards, the messenger and the color card. We got the messenger coming up last week as well. So we're continuing this. Pay attention to the conversations that you have with others and how they may relay signs for you, or intuitive messages to you. And also recognize how you are receiving messages from spirit that help you to see more color in your life, to see more vibrance in your life, to see more value in your life, and even value within yourself. That color card is about the spectrum of awareness of diversity, because you know, girl is on live. I can't be answering calls when I'm live on my readings. So really honoring the expansion and the vividness of life, okay? I know we're a little over in the reading, so I'm going to go ahead and call it now, but just honoring the messages that come through that help you see the vivid colors of life and the spectrum of that too, and honoring and being grateful for all of the spectrum of life, including the shadow, because the shadow gives us that wealth and wisdom that we need to move forward, okay? So synthesis in the beginning of the week, dancing in the rainbow in the middle of the week, especially we'll be dancing in the rainbow once we do that shadow work, right? Shining light of awareness on those shadows, honey. And then at the end of the week, the messenger, bringing more color into our life, okay? So beautiful. Love it. Thank you all for joining me. Make sure to tune in today live on Instagram at 7 p.m. Central Time for some more conversation about the moon. And I can't wait. I love you all so much. I'll see you there. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you again next week for a brand new weekly reading. Also, I posted a new Starseed Saturday meditation last night, and it is a beautiful, powerful cosmic activation in alignment with the full moon lunar eclipse tonight. So definitely go get you some activations with that one, and let me know how it goes in the comments. And of course, please don't forget, I have that reading sale. Past life readings are only $100 now instead of the $133 up until June 1st. So you can book it and pay for it before June 1st, and you'll be able to receive the sale. Even if you book it for like June 8th or something, as long as you'll have your payment will be due by the 1st in order to lock in that sale. So I'll just send you the invoice for the 1st at the sale price, and you'll just need to pay it by that day in order to lock in the sale price, even if you decide to get your reading after the sale ends. Okay, does that make sense? All right, I love you all so much. I will see you soon. Peace, and thanks for joining me. Love you.